You know what's crazy? The original animated series came out 32 years ago. And I still remember waking up on Saturday mornings watching it on day one. So I say all that to say, y'all old. And welcome to my safe haven, everybody. Thank you guys so much for clicking on another video and joining me here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. If this is your first time checking out my channel, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Michael. I call myself the Black Gay Comic Geek and always say the things I love to talk about on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the four. So I generally like to talk about nerd content, fantasy, horror, sci-fi, and of course, I like to talk about black representation and queer representation, or talk about those things through a black queer lens. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you think representation matters and through representation it equals normalization, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It'll help with the YouTube algorithm, getting this video out there, getting my channel out there so I can continue to grow this channel. Another way you can help the channel and help the algorithm getting this video and my channel out there, and it doesn't cost a thing, is hitting that like button. So with that said, guys, we are here to talk about probably a lot of people's most anticipated thing to come out of 2024. The moment it was announced, everybody got hyped. I wouldn't say I got hyped. We'll get into that later, because this is their childhood. This is their thing that made them comic book fans, which myself included, this and the Spider-Man animated series. And that is the reboot, the return of the X-Men 90s animated series, which this one is called X-Men 97. Me, I was excited, but I wasn't as excited as everybody else, because honestly, when it was announced, I was like, I would rather prefer a new X-Men animated series and not a continuation of the 90s one. And not only just that, but I would prefer, if they were going to do a reboot, maybe do Wolverine and the X-Men, which I think was a better series than the X-Men 90s animated series. I just thought, even though we only got one season of Wolverine and the X-Men, the storyline was a little bit better, the characterizations were a little bit better, they were a little bit more adult. And then also, as much as I enjoy the 90s cartoon, I do kind of feel like they didn't really treat the women that well. Like Jean Grey was always passing out. It was a joke. She was always fainting. She's an Omega level mutant. She floats a pencil. She always faints. Like there's a whole YouTube video that goes around, like type Jean Grey is useless, and you'll see all the times that she was just terrible in the 90s cartoon. Or even Storm. Storm was always passing out in the cartoon. Like, I was just like, give me a rebooted series. But at the end of the day, I'm happy we're getting some type of X-Men related content, especially animated related content. So let's get into X-Men 97. Does it feel all the nostalgia vibes that everybody was looking for? Or is it a series that you're just like, yeah, you probably should have stayed back in the 90s? So let's talk about it. So the basic synopsis of X-Men 97 is, it takes place, I believe, 1 year after the ending of the original 90s cartoon, where the X-Men are reliving their lives and trying to pick up the pieces of their lives after Charles Xavier went off with the Shi'ar to basically recover and heal himself. And the rest of the world thinks Xavier is dead. And I gotta say, I don't know, I might get in trouble for this review because of again, this is my opinion, but like, because you know, sometimes people get so offended if you feel a different way about them of a certain show, video game, whatever, as if I'm personally attacking you, and it's like, everything is subjective. But honestly, I got to see the first 3 episodes. I don't know how many episodes were released when it comes out today on Disney+, but I thought this animated series, the first 3 episodes were just okay. And part of the reason for that is, I don't know, it feels like, you know how when you listen to a karaoke version of a song, it feels like a karaoke recreation, like it doesn't hit as hard as the original song. And I kind of feel that way with regards to this X-Men animated series. Like even with the opening, we see the same opener that we got in the 90s, the same theme song, the same animation and everything like that. And honestly, I feel like the theme song doesn't hit as hard as it did in the 90s. Like, and it's not even because I'm older, things like, even when I go back and watch the 90s cartoon, I still get the same vibe and I still feel the same oomph that I feel when I hear that song. But this, even though it's literally them recreating the theme song, again, it feels like a karaoke recreation of that theme song. Like it doesn't have that same oomph. And so even when I first started the episode, I was just like, I'm just starting this episode, or I'm just starting the series, and I'm already not feeling it with the theme song. And I was like, is it just me? Like, what's happening? And also, getting into the animation, like honestly, I'm not all that I'm not a fan of the animation style because in a way it reminds me of Archer, and that kind of works for Archer. And I never watched Archer, but that animation style works for Archer. But I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. There are people that like it, but I'm not a fan of it. And not only just that, but in certain instances, I do feel like, especially in the first 10 minutes or so, like when it comes to the voice acting, it feels like the actors are far away from the mic and speaking in like a wind tunnel. Like it almost feels like it's not mastered in a certain way. Like it feels like it's coming from outside of the characters as opposed to the characters themselves. And these are all things that I felt in the first like 5-10 minutes of the show. And I was just like, oh boy, if I'm feeling like this in the first 5 or 10 minutes, what is the rest of the show going to be about? Also, one thing that I forgot to mention is I know they got a lot of the original voice actors back to voice these characters again, and at least the ones that are still alive. And I get that this show came out like 32 years ago, but also some of the, more specifically, the character Rogue, she sounds weird, even though it's the original voice actor, because she sounds like she's 32 years older. Like Rogue sounds like a 62-year-old or 60 whatever year old woman. And yes, the voice actor is older, but the character is not supposed to be older. So the fact that you sound like Rogue sounds like an old one, she sounds like she's been smoking a bunch of cigarettes. And so I'm just like, they got the original voice actor to play Rogue, but it doesn't sound like Rogue. And kind of like there was some complaints with like Avatar: The Last Airbender or even Percy Jackson. They do this in this show as well, where they have somewhat of the exposition dump, where it's like, just in case you didn't see the original cartoon, let me have Jean Grey talk about how I was possessed by it just previously on X-Men, as opposed to just doing the previously on X. Well, I guess that'll probably take too long because they're doing 5 seasons worth. So there were some moments of that where I kind of rolled my eyes. And even though I do think the fight scenes look good, especially compared to the original, I still feel like the animation is a little choppy. And not only just that, but again, going to like the karaoke recreation, I think that's the theme that I feel like with these 3 episodes. Like, I don't feel the like weight or the impact with these fight scenes. Like, things are happening and they look cool, but I'm not like feeling it. I'm not like when I think of Avatar: The Last Airbender, their fight scenes, or Legend of Korra, or even like Castlevania, or even Invincible with the fight scenes. And maybe I think it's maybe the way, like in terms of the sound effects and the master of it, like I don't feel the impact. Like even when they released that Sentinel fight scene that was released online, I was just like, okay, maybe I need to see the whole context. But even I felt that way even then, where I was just like, stuff is happening, but I'm not like feeling it happen. And that's just kind of how I felt throughout the run of these 3 episodes. Now, with that, I kind of started this review negatively because I wanted to get that out the way. But I will say, like, the thing that I do enjoy in this show versus, and I think that they improved upon on this show versus the 90s cartoon, is they definitely improved on their characters and improved on their characterizations, in the sense of like, Storm is an Omega level mutant. We get to see Storm be an Omega level mutant. And not only just that, but she's not fainting when she uses her powers. Jean Grey is not constantly fainting when she uses her powers. And not only just that, but it's something that I enjoy that they're doing in this series compared to the original 90s cartoon, is we get to see a little bit more quieter moments with regards to these characters. The thing that we love about the X-Men is that a lot of it, not even just the allegories of oppression and yada, 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 but the X-Men comics are, at its best, a soap opera. And in a soap opera, there's a lot of issues and moments and relationships and interpersonal relationships that you deal with regards to soap operas. Soap operas are messy, where it's like you find out that the love of your life is like your twin brother, or like, soap operas are messy. And so that's something that we get in these X-Men, in this 90s X-Men, or this reboot of X-Men 97, where it's messy. And in terms of like drama and also just quieter moments. Like they released a scene or a clip yesterday where Jean and Storm were having a conversation as friends, as sisters, as workers, as people that love and respect each other. That's not something that we got in the original cartoon. And then you also wouldn't know, because in the comics, Storm and Jean are best friends. You wouldn't know that from the 90s cartoon because they barely talks. We got to see more intimate conversations of like, and moments of like the X-Men in the kitchen cooking and, you know, and conversations between like Jean and Storm that we never got to see in the original. And seeing more of them, you know, being more than just superheroes and being more than just protectors of mutant kind and humankind, but we actually are getting to see them as people. And that's something that I'm really appreciating. Like we're getting to see more emotional beats with these characters, more connection with these characters. And like, that's something that I'm really appreciating. Now, with that said, let me just address this really quick because they did release the scene. So I guess it is fair game to talk about. But if you haven't seen the scene well, I mean, the episode is out by now. So make sure you at least see the scene between Jean and Storm, because I am going to talk about, so I guess technically spoilers for that scene. But like, I do see there are people on the internet complaining about that scene. And me personally, I don't have an issue with it. I can understand the optics of a white woman complaining about her son being different and having that conversation. And you're talking about that with a black woman mutant. But like, I don't have a problem with it because A, Jean and Storm are best friends. So you're having a conversation with your best friend and your confidant. But then also like, yeah, it is true. Like no parent wants their child to be discriminated against. No parent wants their child to face any type of adversity just simply for the fact of the way that they were born. And yes, Jean has had this very same conversation with Cyclops in season 1. But so many things have happened since season 1 and now. So it's not unrealistic for her to have that conversation again and have it with her best friend. And not only just that, but there are people that had the issue of Storm saying like, I've often wondered what it would be like for me to be human. And they show like a moment from the comics where somebody asked Storm, does she ever wish that she was a mutant, or did she ever wish that she was human? And she said, absolutely not. Like never, not once. And people are saying, so Storm would never wonder what it's like to be human. Like that's such a far or out of character moment for Storm. And I disagree with that as well, because yes, there is that moment in the comics, but there's also a big difference between wondering something and wishing something. Wishing is like more like, I want this to happen. Wondering is just like, oh, I'm actually curious, like how things, like there are moments that I would wonder how different my life would be if I was straight. Would it be easier? Would it be harder? How different would it be? What friends would I have? Would I have the same friends? Would I have the same interests and things? Yeah, I do wonder, but do I wish I was straight? Absolutely not. I love my life. And I think my life would be worse off if I were straight. I mean, first and foremost, I wouldn't be the black gay comic geek on the internet. So like, would I have the platform that I have? Like, I don't wish I was straight, but sometimes I do wonder how different things would be if I were. Or even like with Jean having that wonder or conversation, like, how do I, tell my son that the world is basically gonna hate him simply for who he is, yada, yada, yada. Like, that's something that even like a lot of black parents deal with regards to like, the conversation that people always talk about, black people having the talk conversation when it comes to like how to deal with police and how the world sees you. And it's basically the same thing, like leaning into that. And again, leaning into that conversation and allegory of mutants being, any version of an oppressed minority, whether it's the civil rights movement, the gay rights movement, the women's liberation movement, et cetera, et cetera. And then also, I haven't seen the first 3 episodes. That conversation does come back up. So like, this is kind of seeds being planted for that. I'm not going to go into that, but yeah, so I didn't have a problem with this conversation. I more so have a problem with them continually putting Storm in this mohawk. Like, at least if you're going to give her a mohawk, give her some authentic looking black hair mohawk, like the straight hair, the way, like Storm's hair should always look like a cloud, because black women's hair looks like a cloud. And not only just that, but like it's also on theme for her powers. If you're gonna give her the mohawk, granted, I get it's comic, that's how she looked in the 80s, but it's not the 80s anymore. Updated. Guess what? M'Baku was man-ape in the 80s and they updated it. He's not man-ape today. So again, if you're gonna give her the mohawk, at least let it be looking like black woman's hair as a mohawk. But yeah, also I do feel like because there are only 10 episodes in this first season, there are certain moments and certain character arcs, especially with regards to episode 3, that they rush through. Like there's a whole storyline that they finish in that one episode. And I'm just like, I feel like this storyline should have taken at least 3 episodes. Like, remember those days we used to get, like, even think about Power Rangers, the Green with Evil arc? That was 5 episodes just to finish that single arc. Like, or the Dark Phoenix saga, or the Phoenix and the Dark Phoenix saga. That took place over the course of like 5 episodes, from the Phoenix saga to the Dark Phoenix saga. And I partially feel like because we're getting these shorter and shorter and shorter seasons, you don't really get that many like those epic 2-parters that you used to get in days of old. Now, I'm not saying that we need to go back to like 22 episode television again, but especially considering animation is a little cheaper than doing it live action, especially with all the effects that the mutant powers have and everything like that. Like, this season should have been at least like 15 episodes. Cause yeah, episode 3 was just hella rushed. But I do wonder, cause I did see like hints in the like promotional materials for this show that like they hint at them potentially doing Krakoa in this series. So it's making me wonder, so are we gonna see like a poly relationship between Cyclops, Wolverine, and Jean? Because in the Krakoan era of comics, they hint at Cyclops and Wolverine and Jean being in the throuple. And not just them being in the throuple, but that Cyclops and Wolverine are also having sex with each other. It's just subtext. They don't go further than subtext. But the reason I bring this up is because there are moments, and it's not even because I'm looking for it, because a friend of mine was just like, are you just, like, is it because you're gay that you're looking for it? And I'm like, honestly, I'm not even looking for it. Like, I am just watching, and I'm just like, no, that's pretty gay. Because, like, there's a moment between Morph and Wolverine that's pretty gay. I was just like, nah, they about to have sex after this is over. But also another thing that I do enjoy with regards to this show, especially with it being made by an openly black gay man, and granted, he's no longer a part of the show. We still don't know what happened or anything like that. There's rumors on both ends of like him being fired because Disney found out he had an OnlyFans page. Then there's also rumors of him being a terrible person, and also, even though being openly gay, saying anti-gay things. So I don't know what the truth of that is, but like, we get to see like the X-Men are shirtless a lot. Not, you know, Wolverine, Gambit, Cyclops, and even Gambit is in a crop top certain times. You're just like, all right, you know exactly what the fans want. Give me some more, especially Gambit. Like, hey, Gambit. Like, so give me some more shirtless crop top scenes with these characters. But yeah, like I said, overall, I thought it was okay. I'm still interested and invested in the rest of the storyline and show, but I didn't walk away from these first 3 episodes like, oh my God, I absolutely love it. Like, I can't wait to see the rest of it. Kind of like I am with like Invincible. Like Invincible, I'm just like, oh my God, where's the next episode? It's not even because Invincible is bloody and gory, or, you know, blood, sex, gore, and magic. It's not even because that, I don't know. I just feel like it has more emotional impact. Like, I feel more of the weight of like the fight scenes and the storylines and the action and the moments. Like, I feel, again, it just feels like a karaoke recreation of, you know, the characters and moments and everything like that. But I still am enjoying it so far. But with that, I believe only 2 episodes are dropping. So what did you guys think about the first 2 episodes? I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people, because I've seen like some of the reviews, social media reactions dropping online, and people are loving it. And so I'm like, I guess I might be in a minority because I don't love it, but I don't hate it as well. I just think it was okay. I really liked episode 2, but I thought episodes 1 and 3 were like, they were cute. They were again okay, but that's just my feel. I say the first 3 episodes are okay. But what did you guys think? That's enough about me talking. Again, if this is your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. If you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video, and tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.